$1 million mistakes, possibly even more, that I've made over the last 4.5 years. Kerry, what's today's episode?
Finally, so welcome guys to the Secrets channel. I really wanted to go into this topic and I've made a request for 2 days straight because I really believe the lessons are in the mistakes. And I believe that if you can learn from someone else's mistakes, it makes you even brighter.
Yeah.
Right? And this is what I want you guys to squeeze Lynn's wisdoms.
Squeeze the lemon, squeeze the onion.
Yes, because over the time that we've been together, Lynn, you've invested in hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Like literally, like it's crazy, right? People hear that. I know it's such a cliche thing to say. People go, they invest, but I think you've seen single-handedly how much I've just gone, cool, I'm going to do it. And then I come to you later and then you go, what the fuck? And then I go, I just had to do it. There's just something called me to do it. And I think this is really interesting because this episode's all about, $1 million mistakes, possibly even more, that I've made over the last 4.5 years. And I really think this is the difference between you and I. We're like two peas in a pod. And you learn so well from other people's mistakes and you're very cautious, you're very smart, you'll extract, you'll listen, and then you'll use. Whereas for me, I feel like I'm a headless chook running around half the time, and then I go, oh my God, I learned. And I think we have two different learning styles, and I really, really think that there is value in both. There's value in the theory and understanding, what's ahead, which you do really, really well because you listen. Which is why you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and I do the opposite. I speak so much more, so I just go ahead and do it. So I think this is going to be a really cool one today. When Kerry said she already knows the topic, I went into the room and I was like, yo, this is what we're going to talk about today. She's like, no. I promised these guys that we're going to talk about the mistakes of the last 2 episodes, and I boycotted those because I went on a tangent or a bit of a rant. So this is going to be really cool. I don't know how this is going to unfold, but hopefully I can help you guys. If you guys want to listen and take the advice, feel free to. If you want to make mistakes, then fuck yes, good, you'll grow. Either way, you're winning. So why don't we start this out and see where it unfolds, shall we?
Absolutely. So my first question to you is, broadly speaking, how many people have you invested in the past?
Like courses?
Past, present. Both.
Courses. Mentors.
Yes. How many?
Oh, fuck. I'd have to say since 2014 was really the moment that I jumped into the online space and took it seriously, like online marketing, sales, delivery. I've probably bought about 25 plus different types of courses, programs, and these are full length ones. These are like how to run your dental marketing agency, how to be a social media run a social media agency, these are full blown ones, like how to get X, Y, and Z. And then I think I've invested in 6 or 7 high level programs, mentors, 6 or 7 over the last 4.5 years. And I think, the most expensive mentor that I've had to date was joining Tony Robbins Platinum. And that was really expensive. I mean, now I look at it, and that was in 2016. That was a chunk of change, wasn't it, Kez? I mean, I told you and you were like, what the fuck did he just do? But yeah, I invested in about 6 or 7 mentors. I can't really, but that they range between, I think the cheapest was 25,000 US. Tony Robbins was 75,000 US. All fucking amazing in its own right as I reflect. Now I look at it and I think it's so good. It's amazing because I wouldn't be who I am today. During the mentorship, I was kind of like, what am I paying for? You know, the fucking the thing. What am I paying for? Like, what am I getting out of this? The victim mindset, and I think that's something that we'll talk in today. So I'd have to say 25 courses, anywhere from a few $100 to like $2,000. And then yeah, you've got your mentors and your masterminds and all of that jazz. I'd have to say 6 or 7. Is that more?
Let
You think? How?
I think it is about 6 or 7.
Yeah,
Yeah. If
cool. So I hope I didn't invest in anybody and not tell you. Well, fuck, the cat's out of the bag now.
um, let's go a little bit into the courses. So for the 20 courses or so that you've bought, what do you find as the pattern of those courses, of what it's brought to you to this present day? And what do you think it was out of the 20 courses that,
Yeah.
if at all, moved you forward?
Yeah. Cool. Like, it's really funny because when I look back now, I go, oh my God, you're such an idiot. Like, back then I would sit down and I would blame the course because I would, start out and I would dive in and I'm like, well, if I do everything the course tells me to do, I'm gonna be a millionaire. I'm gonna be a billionaire. And I'd sit there and I would go word by word, copy and paste, take their templates, use it, and replicate it. And I think, for me, when I'm starting out trying to find traction, I'm literally replicating it because I'm afraid to do me and I'm afraid to think. So what I'm trying to do is I'm like, I'm not going to think, I'm just going to take this course and I'm going to use it and then I'm going to get the result. And for the first year and a half of courses and content, I got nothing. Like literally, like, I'm like, oh yeah, I didn't even think. Like when I was using these courses, Gary, I didn't actually use my head. I didn't say, is this something, like if I was my own prospect, would I respond to this? I was just like, sweet, I'm going to copy and paste this. This looks a little lame, but whatever. Like it just said it in the course and I'm going to do it. And he or she said, if I follow the system, I'm going to follow through and get results. And I didn't. And I was pissed because I'm like, I followed the system. I was the victim. I would message these people. I'm going, hey, I'm doing everything. I'm ticking the box, but I'm not getting the result. And it got me frustrated with a lot of the gurus because I was like, fuck all these gurus that are business coaches and fuck them and fuck this and fuck that. And everyone's a scam. And I'm, none of this is real. And then come a moment, I think, in time when we're talking about this at our last event where we bought a house and we bought our very first house. I then had this enormous amount of pressure to have to succeed. And so I'm sitting here and I'm playing around with this internet game and trying to be this faceless business because I wasn't confident with who I was. I didn't want to have a voice. I didn't want to post shit on social media. I didn't want to talk about my opinion. I had no opinion. I was just this guy that was just happy with life and I just wanted to make some money. So I'm like, well, shit, show me a way I can make money. So I used these courses and it wasn't until we bought our first house where I was like, and why we bought the house was, I was trying to impress your parents. I was trying to validate that I could look after you. As an Asian, this is a really weird thing in our culture, and I'm sure many other cultures have it. But it's like the guy has to look after the girl, and I felt I had something to prove. So what's really funny is Kerry's mum and Kerry go shopping one day, or they don't really go shopping, but out of the blue, they go out to find an apartment behind where we're currently living. And my heart just skips because I'm like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, what the fuck, right? But I kind of just roll with it. And I kind of just go, yeah. 3 months later, we start going to auctions and your mum's just raising her hand for every price. We then fucking, this was like 2016, right? She's raising her hand up and she's trying to do all sorts of shit. And, we end up buying a property at around $1 million, $1.5 million, that range. And that's when it kind of hits me that I've got this ticking time bomb that I have to take it to the next level. And
I'm laughing as well because up until that point, you had no idea how much I made. I had no idea how much
yeah,
money you made. And
yeah,
we just decided, let's go buy a house.
correct.
Let's see what
I have no
see
idea.
what the bank will approve us for. And it was about $1.3 million.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know why they approved us for that much money, but we were like, great, we can buy a house for that much.
We were definitely not the people that should have been approved for that. And I think at the time it was kind of, things were going well for me. Like things were good, things were okay, things started to take traction. But I wasn't in them. Like when I look back at it now, I was like, oh, we're in no position to buy a house back then. Holy fucking shit. And that's just another topic of conversation. But that was the moment where it really changed, because up until then, everything that I'd done was kind of, cool, I'm going to figure out this hack. I'm going to figure out this little trick. I'm going to try to do minimum work, maximum results, 80-20. I'm going to put up some nice lead magnets, pretty pictures, but not back me. And I remember, because deadline day is coming soon in Australia. We have like a 90-day period. Ours got extended to like 5 months, and I was like, oh my god, thank God! Like there's this pressure point. Ours gets extended out for 5 months, and then basically what happens is I start to learn that I'm the problem. I'm the problem. So it's me. It's not the courses. The courses have the information. I'm just copying, duplicating it, and expecting it to work. But fundamentally, we say this a lot of the times, it's not about how fast the car is, it's the driver in the car. Kerry says that to me because I'm like, I want a fast car. And Kerry's like, it's not the car, mate. It's not the car, it's the fucking driver. And it's true. Because I think fundamentally, if you want to take it to the next level and really go and really fucking move, and you start to see successful people and you're driven by them, it's because they realize that they have to take ownership, and they are the problem, and they are the ones that have to drastically increase in value. And I think when I made that shift, that was the most important shift. Prior to that, it was like, I'll play small, I'll hack it, I'm not going to put myself out there, I'm not going to be judged, I don't have an opinion, I don't have a voice, I just want to be the guy that everyone likes. And that's cool, but that only gets you so far. And I think, if there was one big mistake that I made earlier on, it was not taking ownership for me and looking at myself and asking myself this question: Am I a person of value? And trying to think that there was some sort of secret out there, where the secret is, can you drive the car? How good are your skills? What value do you have to offer? And it's just a game of, this whole thing is just a game of increasing in your value, having a message, and finding your message and living your message and breathing it and using it every single day. And what, if I look at that first year or 18 months, I struggled to break through, not make money. Make money was okay, but break fucking through. Consistent income was just to go, bam, we're doing this. Have complete certainty. I think that's the biggest key.
I want to make it really transparent for the audience, and I want to go into the coaching investments that you've made. And specifically, I want you to describe to the audience the amounts that you've invested in, or, the thereabouts amounts that you invested in each of the coaches. Mm-hmm. And then most specifically, I want you to go into ClickFunnels and you investing in Russell. And I think, to me, mindfully, I recognized a big shift in the way that you approached your business and the way that you surrounded yourself with the people inside of that mastermind. And I can very distinctively remember that you shifted.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
And that's a really tough question. But I remember I know exactly what you're talking about. My very first high-level mentor was Travis Jones. I'm sure a lot of you guys might know him. If you don't know him, he's a really cool dude. In Melbourne, we used to work at the same gym, QV Melbourne Fitness First. And then he went off to start his own gyms, and I invested in him. And I was still in the gym. And so when I invested in him, the big promise was, look, you're going to make X, Y, and Z. You're going to make all this money. You're going to be able to run an online business. You're going to have the dream. And when I invested in him, how much? I'm just trying to think about how much it was. It was on the rough of about 35,000 for the year. And it was a mastermind. And I was really disappointed with it. At the time, I was disappointed at him. Now I was kind of disappointed with myself because I see patterns in investing at the start. This is what I did. I invested at the start looking to be saved. And what I mean by that is the tools, the tactics, the strategies. Sure, there was Facebook ads. Sure, there was a lot of cold calling. Sure, there was everything wasn't right. But if I was hungry, and if I knew who I was, and if I didn't have all of my internal struggles around being judged, if I really wanted success, if I really set myself up with the expectations, if I was more active rather than passive, and this is the difference between active and passive, I was generally pretty passive. If I really wanted to succeed, I would have succeeded in that program. At the time, I told myself a different story because I was starting out. And I was sold into this idea that I could make $1 million in 4 months. And here it was. And when it didn't work, I was like, well, this doesn't work. You know, he was my very first mentor at that level. And then I learned and I felt burnt. You know, and when I look back, I'm like, well, he didn't burn me. Like, he created me because I can take those lessons, I can apply. I've learned so much from it. And when I look back, I'm really, really grateful. Like, I'm like, shit, if I had not invested in him, then I wouldn't have discovered the game so quickly. And then I wouldn't have experienced so much pain. And I think a lot of the times I've taken pain and I've gone, how do we create the very thing that is out there to serve the marketplace? Because, you know, the more we invest, the more we start to know the marketplace. So I think the second investment that I made after that was a small investment. I think it was working with Kevin Nations. We worked together for about 3 months. He was really, really good. Once again, the problem was me. You know, I hopped over from one shiny object to another shiny object. And it wasn't until the third investment, which was Russell, where I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to join Russell Brunson. This guy's really cool. He's up and coming. I think in 2016 at the start, he'd just been 1 year into ClickFunnels. I was like, I've got to be around this guy. And I approached it with a different mindset. And that was when I started to double down. And that's when I started to learn grit. Prior to that, everything was kind of like, cool, I want to figure this out. Is there a shortcut? Give me the shortcut. If not, whatever. My approach into Russell Brunson was, I'm going to master this thing, you know. And it was really funny because you buy Russell Brunson stuff, and basically I bought the perfect webinar for $19 free plus shipping offer. And then I go into the mastermind, and then he tells me to do the webinar. And I'm like, oh, is there anything else? You know, wondering what the secret is. And it's like, nope, that's it. Just do the webinar, dude. And just do it every week. And then so I said to myself, okay, cool, I'm going to do this every week. I'm going to do this every single week. I'm going to do this every single week. And for the first moment in time, like, that's when I began to look at my messaging deeper, look at things a lot clearer, look inside of my prospects' minds. I think that's when the shift started to happen from being passive to being active to going, look, I am going to do this. I'm going to figure this out. This is it. This is the thing. And it was just practice after practice after practice after practice. I sucked at the start at presenting anything. You know, 1 hour on the presentation, I remember I would message you every Friday. When you were at work, I was like, oh my God, I just did the webinar. I am fried. Like, I'm fried, right? After a webinar, you're like, oh, you must be so tired. Take the rest of the day off. And, you know, when I look at what we do now, when I coach and we have our 3-hour webinars at 6 a.m. in the morning till like 9, and I just get through that, it's just repetition. And I think that's the moment that it began to shift. And at the time, don't get me wrong, I had a resentment towards these mentors that I'd hired and gone, well, this is shit. Now, when you go deeper, you start to realize it's all of your own shit, and the fact that you aren't good enough to do what you needed to do to attract the people that you wanted to attract, to create the business that you wanted to create. And I think it's becoming very clear, because I shifted from this passive place and this place where hoping that opportunity would come to me, and then I sought out an active place where I started going after opportunity. I think that's a fucking, it's a mind fuck, Kerry, because, you know, on one end, people market to you the shiny object. On the other end, you have to sit down and go, there is no shiny object. There are just the reps, you know, because everyone's being marketed to every single day. So
I really loved that you said you paid $35,000 for Russell to tell you something to do, which you paid $19 for.
Yeah. It was,
I love that. Yeah.
And you were part of the group, and you're like, so what do I, because at the time,
what do we get?
Yeah, you're kind of like, what do you get? And we're just like, well, what do you get for $35,000? You get a Facebook group, and you get 2 catch-ups a year. You get 2 meetings a year, and you might go, okay, cool. So when we stripped it all back to just that, it was really funny. I was like, oh, well, this is all I get. Well, I better do some work now. It was almost like I had to pay to actually implement the things, rather than give myself an excuse and get caught in a billion different directions and shiny objects, you know, because I can tell you, in Travis's mastermind, I had so much more. I had so much more stuff. And it just gave me different reasons. Whereas when you have nothing, when you just go, look, I'm going to pay $35,000 for 2 meetings, you go, right, like, I need to do, like, there's just this shift in this mindset from bare basic minimalism.
And I think the same thing applies with training programs, right?
Oh,
because
100%.
Right now, the social media is full of hundreds and thousands of different variations of movement. And then when you can really strip it back, or you get coaching and they strip it back to maybe 3 movements, it's like, well, what else is there? But you have a really distinct mindset shift that I need to master this. This is
100%.
Give them one thing to master. And that's what Russell did for you. That's really cool.
Yeah,
I really love that.
It's so crazy, because I'm kind of like, well, Kerry, if I just tell you to go into the gym and I told you this, all you're going to be doing is doing 1 set of squats. That's your whole fucking workout. And that's all that you're going to do. And then you have to leave. I will drag you out. How many squats will you do?
I've had a lot of PBs doing that. Yep.
You've had a lot of, and here's what most people do. They have an amazing exercise, but when it comes to execution, they don't. They don't actually execute because they've got too many shiny objects. And so when I look at my very first investment, looking to be saved, being this passive person going, hey, just tell me what to do, I do it. But it's the quality of the rep that matters. It is the quality of the rep. And I think with Russell, it was fantastic, because I was like, well, fuck, this is stupid. Kerry's going to tell me off. This is really silly. And basically from there, the quality of the rep was every week, every fucking single week. And I think that's one thing that's one big thing that a lot of people with so much information nowadays don't get it, because you're consistently looking for more and more and more and more information. But it's like, have you fucking squeezed that lemon, the gift that you've received? Have you completely squeezed that gift to maximize that gift to get the result? And most people don't, it's not, and they look for different excuses to jump onto different things when things don't work out. And it's like, how about doing that one thing, doing it amazingly well? And I think that's really the transition. That's when it started happening.
I want to also attest to that, because when he says every Friday he did a live webinar, he did that for 52 weeks, and he did that every single week. And I think I remember just from you telling me, and sometimes I would jump onto those webinars as well, just listening at my desk. I remember that the reps were really slow, and that your improvement was micro progress every single week. And you would actually then go back and reflect after when you did the rep, with what can I do better next week and what can I do better next week. It was never a set and forget thing that you did.
Yeah. And I'm going to add to that because that's really, really important. Most people will do reps and they go, well, Lynn, I've done my rep. I should get better. And I go, well, you know, if you do something bad and you do it again, you're just instilling bad habits and bad programming, bad routines and rituals around that. Every time I finished the webinar, I sat down and I was like, oh my God, I should have said this. I should have said that. I should have said this. And I didn't. And in my mind, there was this battle. Do I leave that webinar and then do it later? Because my mind was like, oh, fuck, I'm tired. I'll do it on the weekend. The other brain was kind of like, shut the fuck up, get down, fix it now. It will take you 10 minutes, put down the notes and then do it. And every single time I did that. And it's literally been repetition. And it's the same thing with the Online Trainers podcast. There was one episode a day for like, I don't know, 8 months. It's the same with coaching, our webinars. The reasons why I'm really good at coaching now is not because I sat there and read a book on coaching. It's because I literally asked the right questions, and repetition helped load and improve my ability to ask questions and to drive movement, to drive results. So, yeah.
I love that. How do you get better at coaching? Do more coaching.
Yeah, but don't speak. Like there almost has to be this one question at the end game, and that is, how do I get better results and drive better outcomes? And if you are committed to the results, the repetition leads to that result. Whereas most people just go, how do I get better at coaching? They do more coaching or they do more speaking, but they never actually look and see whether or not it was effective, you know, because they don't have the results in mind.
Tell the audience about this, because I know that at one point in your career, you had an internal mastermind and you embodied a council of various people and you embodied them every single day.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. So I think this was really important for me starting out. I think a lot of everybody listening is going to have a mentor, whether or not you know, for me, it was Tony Robbins when I was starting out. He was a big, big mentor of mine. Obviously didn't have the money to splurge on him at the time. And so a lot of the times I started to use these identities of them, and I'd wake up, I'd go for a walk, and I would have a counsel in my mind thinking, okay, if Tony Robbins was to give me advice on this, what would he say? And I had Tony Robbins, I had Chet Holmes, I had Jay Abraham, and knowing and reading and studying their material so much, I was able to walk, and any problem that I had, I seeked help and guidance and counsel from them, from my mind. It sounds really fucking weird, but it was very, very effective, because at the end of it, at the end of every walk, at the end of every problem, I was able to overcome that with a solution. And I think it's useful because there's a very high chance that right now you already know what to do. You and I already know what to do. And we just need validation to do it. But if you can skip the validation and understand, right, that's coming and I don't need validation anymore, then you can get to the point where you study people's material, such as listening to this podcast, watching all of my shit. You can go, okay, cool. If I was to ask Lynn a question, what would he say? And there's a very, very high probability, there's a very high chance that what I say is going to be aligned with what you would say in your mind about me and what I would say to you. And thus, there's so much free coaching and mentorship that you can take by using that. And it's just people stop. And I used to stop because I was seeking that validation. I think Russell just like that just gave it to me. I was almost like, dude, this is genius because I'm paying you for nothing. Like, it's fucking genius. I'm paying you. The meetings are fucking phenomenal. Russell's phenomenal. Like, don't get me wrong. But fundamentally, I'm not paying you for what I think I'm paying you for. And it's just this counsel that you create in your mind. And my advice would be, if you don't have the money to invest, go and get 5 books, go and read them, go and study the fuck out of them, just like I did at the start, embody their identities and create this counsel. And then go, cool, what would this person do? To think to think that you need mentors through a mastermind, you know, is somewhat internet marketing. They're trying to sell you on their shit, right? Everyone's trying to sell you. You can have mentors through books. You can have mentors through people around you. You can have all sorts of different mentors. You don't have to invest in a mastermind to seek it. There are programs that's going to accelerate your results if that's the result that you want, and if they're known to get you to that result as quick, as effective, as fast as possible. But so many people go, I don't have money to invest in a mentor, and they fail to look at the books. They fail to look at, and I think this was a little hack that I discovered that really helped me when I had bigger moments, that I was like, well, yeah, I know this is really weird. I'm going to go on a walk. I pretend I'm sitting at a table. There's Jay Abraham, there's Chet Holmes, there's Tony Robbins. And I'm just like, yo, what's up? I've got this problem. What do you think I should do? And then I'm just walking myself through that. So, and Monia says Jim Rohn as well is a fucking phenomenal dude. But yeah, those were my 3 mentors. And, you know, you need to have 1 to 2. Don't have 10, because now they'll give you all different sorts of conflicting information. You know, one person says, have 2 to 3 and go from there.
And if someone's trying to pick out who those mentors are for them, how do you recommend them to find that?
Fuck, that's a toughie. Because for so long, my mentors were anyone that was successful, really. Like anyone that's crushing it. And I think as I've chosen my mentors more selectively lately, and as I'm more aware of what I put in my brain, I think the first thing is you got to know what you really want, what type of lifestyle you want, who you want to be surrounded by, what you want to be doing, what kind of life that you want to build. And then you find somebody that already has that. And I know that sounds fucking cliche as fuck, but because I failed to do it, like if I was to seek out a mentor and this mentor was just like go all the time and was all about creating money, and that's not what I really wanted to do, because he or she didn't have the impact and they're doing real estate, I don't know if I'd listen to them. So you need to be able to find somebody that's doing what you want to do at the level that you want to be doing it at, and really then explore their world, like get to know them, because how they project themselves and how they're perceived on the outside it could be completely different on the inside. But now we have social media, Instagram stories. It becomes so much easier to get to know somebody, get to know their values, get to know what they stand for, get to know what they stand against. Do they have integrity? Do you share the same morals as them? Are you going to get along? Is that the person that you want to be in the future? There's a ton of people that don't want to be me, and that's cool. And if you don't, or you don't want to do or build or have an alignment, that's cool. There's plenty of other people for you. But at the same time, maybe me attracts the people that gel. And I think this was another episode that we talked about. How do you get the right clients? And it starts by just being yourself. And that's how I find mentors. I go, who do I gel with the most from there?
I really loved reading something that you reminded me of, which is that when you study the person or you study their success, study the work that's underneath it as well, and study their method of working, study their habits and rituals. And even at this point in time where we have social media, study their timestamps. Makes sense. Yeah. Because a lot of people, when they look and seek out a mentor or seek out success, they only see that person of that point in time. But I think what you're really great at, which, you know, when you look at Grant Cardone now, you've known him for years and years, almost 5 years now, and you've gone and you say to me, this guy, I've seen him grow every single year.
For sure. Correct.
Whereas most people will look at him now and go, wow, he's an amazing dude. He's very, very successful. There's 5 years, way longer than that. I'm not giving him enough credit. There is so many more years underneath that.
Yeah. And it's so important, because to understand somebody's journey, it literally allows you to get their book in front of you and go, cool, I want to be mentored by this person because shit, that's all the things that they're encountering that that I'm going to encounter, and they can help me get there quicker. And I think finding a mentor, it's figuring out where they were once upon a time, figuring out all the shit they went through. How did they become that person? What are their life struggles? And I think, I just think it comes down to most people don't do enough research. They're too lazy. They want to be passive and fed on this silver platter. Does that make sense? And that's how you get yourself shot in the foot by investing in coaches and mentors. It's kind of like find the person that you gel with, look back at their history, and look at what they're doing today, and how far they've come.
Love it. I think it's a great note to end on. So
yeah,
I hope you
I think that's it. I think there are going to be a couple of different parts to this. I think this part is really the mentors and the coaching side. I think there's many things around business and advertising. There's things around relationships that if I could have done better. There's things around building a team. There's things around growing your movement, working with ideal clients and non-ideal clients. There's things, and I'm sure we'll cut this into sections. I think we'll have this as part one, the mistakes that I've had with investments and mentorship in the past. And then we'll dive into the mistakes I've had around advertising, the mistakes I've had around marketing, sales, delivery, relationships with you. Because then prior to you, I wasn't in this business, so we'll just timestamp it at you. I think that's fairly smart, and everyone would agree. But yeah, I reckon this will be definitely a couple of parts where hopefully my experience and your experience can help some of the people, or maybe validate and just let you know that it is okay, that you are going through this and you're not the only one. And I think that's very powerful.
That's very important to know.
Cool.
Great.
All right.
Everyone.
Guys, that is a wrap. Hope you got a lot out of this. And as always, we'll see you on the next episode.
Yesterday wasn't easy. I had to say goodbye to my best friend. Thought to the end we'd be homies.